The risk would go away if everybody said no to drugs, but just telling people to say no to drugs hasn't worked. A mother close to me cried pretty much every day of the last 20 odd years of her life because of the death of her.
Was that Edna Mode?
Edna Mode.
And it haunted me, and it haunts me still, that she was suffering the harms of drugs long after he was, but so were his children who didn't have a dad, and so was he. You know, something was clearly badly wrong. We don't seem to have managed yet, as a country, to have an evidence-based approach to policy making on drugs.
The thing about the Misuse Drugs Act is it's 45 years old, and it's exactly the same as it was the day it was written 45 years ago. Now, I can't think of any other socio-political policy that's not changed in 45 years.
45 years.
It's completely not fit for purpose. Most people use most drugs without coming to great harm most of the time. So what's the difference then between drug use and drug misuse and addiction? And what I bring to this is...
It's like drinking, though. You could apply the same drinking.
And poverty and social exclusion and poor education and poor housing, a lack of opportunities. Those are the factors that turn a drug user into a drug misuser. The idea that if drugs were softened or regulated, we'd all be high all the time, it's just utter fiction. There's no evidence to suggest that would happen at all.
It's like alcohol, isn't it? You can literally buy alcohol constantly, but no one fucking walks the street drunk all day.
No.
Well,
I mean, it happens, but they're a minority.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Driving cannabis use here. So Portugal, 15 years ago, decriminalised personal possession of all drugs. They did it for economic reasons, because the prisons were filling up, and they wanted a new strategy. In those 15 years, deaths from heroin in Portugal have reduced to 1/3 of what they were before, because heroin addicts get treatment, they don't just get put in prison, or they don't get just punished.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lack of education which causes problems, because they don't know the horrors that you can get from drug misuse. You just get the general, like, don't do drugs. There's no why, and there's no explanation.
It's just
if you do drugs, there's no explanation or education of where you can go for support, how to do them right. If you're going to do this, people are going to do them no matter what the laws are.
And you might as well just be like, just do this, rather than don't do it at all.
So we have so many marketing campaigns with alcohol, and how you have to drink responsibly. Like, it's not saying don't drink at all, but do it responsibly, and it's the same with drugs. Alcohol is just a drug.
Everybody else that are caused by drug misuse, such as antisocial behaviour or drug litter. One way or another, we are all paying for the misuse of drugs, whether we take them or not. We're all paying for it.
There are lots of different drugs that we work with, so if you've got cocaine, if you're using it daily, you're depleting the sort of happy hormones in your mind, you're losing your serotonin, your dopamine very quickly. It costs a lot of money. So before you know it, there's debt piling up. With cannabis, it's only been recognised recently that there's a cannabis withdrawal syndrome. So if you use quite regularly for a period of time and then try to stop, you can get physical and psychological difficulties.
We don't tend to see referrals for MDMA and psychedelics as a main drug, but they tend to be secondary drug that people use but don't tend to address.
We don't have it. That's when
you feel good when you're on the drug, but the more you do that drug, the less you're going to feel good sober.
About a friend or family. To them, they may well think, well, surely all drugs are harmful.
And there are people like to pretend that weed is like this miracle, like outlier compared to all of these other drugs, when it's not true.
The information, knows the risks, and is able to make an informed decision.
Exactly.
I like him.
Stan.
I don't know yet if complete abolition of all drugs laws is the answer. Let's say all drugs were legalised. I'd still have to...
Is this an actual thing, they're thinking about legalising drugs? All drugs?
Wait, it's an act that's being talked about.
I don't think it is okay.
But I'm also struck by the fact that it is illegal isn't stopping them.
Yeah.
I don't think they should get rid of them, they should be abolished. That's silly, because some people will be silly about it.
I think, not the younger one, but the older one, he actually taught some sense.
Yeah, he did.
But the only thing is, like, neither of them considered genetics as part of it. Like,
and what do you mean by that?
Addiction. Addiction is a genetic trait. It can be passed down from father to son, mother to daughter, whoever. It's actually like a trait in people's genes. So if you do have the addiction gene, you are more likely to become addicted to things. That's like an actual thing.
If you're addicted, like, you do it every day, so every day you're just constantly trying to go up again. And you're at, well, yeah, but then what will happen if you're completely out of serotonin?
What is serotonin?
You just melt. It's like the
happy.
Yeah.
Happy.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's released, and then like if you like do MD or coke or something like that.
Yeah, in your brain, yeah.
It like skyrockets.
Psychedelics and MDMA and all that, they're used for not as like an addiction drug, but as a fun party.
90% can't be addicted to this stuff anyway. It's like they kill you pretty much. They don't kill you, but they kill you afterwards.
I don't think anyone calling for the legalisation of weed is calling for the legalisation of heroin, because clearly, like, that is two completely different drugs.
Yeah, completely different classes. They have completely different effects on the brain and the body. You don't get dependence from weed because it literally just releases chemicals called cannabinoids, which we have a cannabinoid system within our brain.
I should have brought you like a little white coat. Honestly, I love your little science lesson.
I'm Professor Green, and over the years, I've had a long relationship with weed.
Maybe attitudes on cannabis are changing.
Oh my god, that's
Professor Green!
Oh my days, he's gonna get out of shit.
Evolving. Should we legalise weed?
How you doing? You alright? Thanks. Yeah. Good to meet you.
Making $1 billion in taxes if weed was legalised.
How big can this be?
This could be huge. This could be huge. So, you know, some people liken it to the end of prohibition of alcohol in the 30s in the US, and we look at it now and we think, who's going to be the Johnny Walker of this space, or the Guinness of this space, or the Smirnoff of this space? The stakes are getting higher and higher. You know?
Yeah, imagine being like one of the first companies to like open weed dispensaries in the UK. You are.
Making money.
Okay.
There's like loads of cigarette and tobacco companies over the world, like Marlboro, who've already invested in the cannabis industry because they know that it's going to make them money.
When do you think this is likely to come to a head? When do you think there's going to be a genuine discussion as to how, if we proceed, we do proceed with it?
If you were to ask me to hang my hat on a number, I'd say, look, you know, within 3 to 5 years, could I imagine regulated models for dispensing cannabis in the UK? I think that would be reasonable, yeah.
Gavin was all right, wasn't he?
I'm definitely all for weed being legalised. I am.
No, between legalised and being regulated, though.
It's not even me being anti-right-wing, even though I am.
Yeah.
But it just takes someone who is not stuck in their own beliefs, and the Conservatives, unfortunately, by their name, Conservative, they want to conserve the British, like British meanings, and they don't want to progress, whereas, you know, Labour or any other left-wing parties are more about progress.
Yeah. So it's nothing more British than walking past a bus stop and just smelling someone having a zoo.
Exactly. Honestly.
Conserve that, please.
Beginning to use marijuana. Do you think it started out innocently?
It was great, you know, go over the park on a Friday afternoon, you know, smoke a few joints with my pals.
It's the first time in my life I just felt like amazing. Like everything was just, any issue that I ever had just completely gone. And from that moment, I think I smoked every day for 24 years.
I started to smoke weed a lot more in the daytimes, and then started to smoke it in the morning, so I'd be getting up, waking and baking.
What I started to do was only smoke alone. My world became really small.
And then I started to do really weird stuff, and I'd start to encourage an argument with my other half so I can leave the house and go and get high.
What for me? This is the... He's obviously got an issue now.
And like, I know we got a baby, but why can't I just smoke weed? And I kicked her out.
I started feeling like suicidal, you know, over weed of all things. Now I've done all of the drugs, and it was weed that brought me to my knees.
I feel quite ashamed. Yeah. To be honest with you, the most dangerous thing about it is you never really think of cannabis as being the drug that could be that problem. Because it is more...
Is Mum going to admit on tape that he smokes weed?
It is more socially accepted.
Yeah. He already said he smokes weed. Oh, come on. Like, the sad videos that I've, like... His name is Professor Green.
I do think, though, that there should be, like, more help for people suffering through with drug problems and that. Like, there's definitely not enough in place that for people that are addicted to drugs.
If it was more open, that there was like support available for stuff like this, then there wouldn't be as many cases like that guy who's just like, you know, it sounds like he had no one to talk to about it.
It's the feeling of getting high that like gets you like.
The dependencies come from you wanting to be high, not natural like physical dependency on the actual like stuff itself.
It's kind of one and the same.
You can get addicted to anything though, can't you?
Yeah.
Like, alcohol is so many times
It's ridiculous,
more
like that's
deadly.
the thing, because it like causes so much damage to like your liver and like everything like that, like your mental health, because it's a depressant.
No one's ever died from too much weed. No one in the history of weed being legal or like alive. No, honestly, no one's ever overdosed from weed. No, there's never been any weed-related illnesses.
It's being allowed for like medical use in the UK now.
Steady steps. Baby steps, isn't it?
So I'm a special constable, and what that is a policeman with the same powers as a regular policeman, but doesn't get paid. And some people call it insanity, and I tend to agree sometimes.
So do you agree with anything you've heard on the panel here?
Well, there's a lot of things I agree with in terms of there are socio-economic reasons for it. You know, got fatherless families. There's poverty in there. There's all sorts of issues. But there's one thing that none of you have mentioned, and it's drugs, and it's government drug policy. When you hear about people stabbing each other over postcodes, they're actually stabbing over each other for control to sell drugs in various postcodes.
So what would you do to answer the question to make London streets safe?
If you legalised cannabis and regulated cannabis, not only would that take a hell of a lot of power and control and money away from criminals, it would free up a hell of a lot of time for police officers, I can tell you that. The amount of times we will stop someone, find a joint on them, very small amount of personal use, we've got to stand there for an hour, fill out community resolution forms, log into 7 different IT systems which are archaic. Takes up a huge amount of police time, and it just maddens me that no one in government is kind of ballsy enough to actually address drug policy. It doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. What are you going to do about it?
There's one point I want to make it. I know that you primary deviance in sociology, that certain areas, because there's different constituencies in England, there's like 40 something. Right. There's some police forces that if they see weed, they won't even bother because it's too much paperwork.
They really have like better things to be doing.
Well, take Farfield for example, where you get muggings and break-ins every day, and you don't get any like police response from that.
In terms of like obviously like gangs trying to like fight for control and position, like they're not beefing for bants. A lot of times it's beefing because
there's like
get
money and stuff behind it.
How much free time will it actually create for them? Because you've still got other things to
work out.
Consider, because if they are selling other things as well, you're still going to focus your time on them. And it's not going to take the power away because they still have power in other aspects.
The point is as well with that is they probably wouldn't want to change the drug policy because, like you were saying, you know, people spend all this time filling out paperwork and stuff. It sort of gives the police the option to go, right, do I want to discriminate against this guy today? Yeah. Do you have this much weed? And then, like, having these things in place gives the police the powerful option to go, right, I'm gonna just mess with this guy today.
If it was to become legalised, obviously, like, the price of it would skyrocket.
It'd be more expensive.
You would have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah, it wouldn't be more expensive. It would be more expensive.
No one who thinks that they're actually winning in this argument will be winning. It'll be the people that were against weed 40 years ago just see it as a new business opportunity now. So then they're just going to make money off that now.
Mad.